There are 1,000,000 ways to die. We just wanna talk about it. Codeheads.
Welcome back to Codeheads.
That's exciting.
I know. I get tickled every time.
If I'm tired right away, that gets me in.
It does. Our theme song is probably my favorite part about the whole pod.
Yep. The beginning and the end, it rules.
So we are back, and I'm pretty stoked. We're talking about DSED, double sequential external defibrillation, part 2, as Mike likes to say with his en français background. So part 2 for those of us English speaking, and we're gonna jump right into it. However, I did want to say that the reasoning that a lot of the research is pre-hospital related to DSED, because we got into it a little bit and we said we're going to talk about it, and we're getting right into that science and research today. But the reason that it's pre-hospital is because it's a little bit easier to implement things pre-hospital. And I'm going to say there's always a ton of logistics when you're trialing something and doing something new. However, EMS lives in like this kind of controlled chaos sort of world. I guess you could argue that for hospitals, but it's a little bit different. There's more red tape in our controlled chaos. And sometimes it's just straight up
rolls and rolls of it.
Yeah. Reams. And lots of papers still in a paperless world. But we tend to, in hospital, kind of jump into things after EMS has been able to set up a structure and gets things going with resuscitation. Because we all want to do the right thing. We all want to drive the bar with resuscitation. However, with EMS, they have, a set number of staff. You have 2 folks on a truck that are going to respond. They have the capability to have, a plan going into place when they're going to the arrest call or to whatever call it is. They always know that there's going to be some sort of backup with another AED there, whether it is fire, whether it is police, whomever it is. It doesn't have to necessarily be, a BLS or an ACLS truck responding. But there's always going to be those opportunities. So they're able to choreograph a little bit easier because there's fewer people there. Whereas in a hospital, when we're responding to an event, within a 12-hour shift, even within an 8-hour shift, you can have whomever is holding a code pager or resuscitation pager, that can change moment to moment, depending on what's going on. Like you might never get the same surgical resident. You might never get the same medical ICU resident. And nurses can change because people get pulled. And so it's a lot more education and reinforcement of a change, even for a trial for in hospital. And there's all these logistics about where are we going to get the backup AED? And they want things so planned out that it ends up taking like 6 months to just decide what backup AED we're going to use and why, and then educate everyone on it, which takes another couple of months. So it's a little bit easier to plan these things out and to do them and like get going with pre-hospital. And once they set it up and get it going and they show responses, even though it's a little bit, sometimes it's apples to oranges, pre-hospital to in-hospital, we're able to glean from their knowledge and what they learned and their trial and error, and then take it into the hospital and go from there. So I just wanted to point that out because a lot of the research is pre-hospital. And that is really why. And also the regulatory requirements are different for in-hospital and pre-hospital. So
it's good you did that, because it is a relevant distinction, because when we have and we will continue to talk about the AHA guidelines, they don't differentiate between the two as it applies to, again, mechanical CPR. We'll talk about that another day, but as an example. So people get upset in the pre-hospital arena, people might have a different reaction in hospital. So it's just one thing to always keep in mind about these topics that we discuss. So regarding DSED, which we had a lot of fun with on part 1, what we're going to do today is just touch on and not get too technical, but just the highlights of some of the trials that have, encouraged us to, promote it. Obviously there's going to be some parts of it that we're going to question, and we're going to talk about how they could be doing more in the future, which they will. But the few trials that there are out there, let's just break them down. And we know the first one we're going to talk about is what, Bridget?
Dose.
Yes. Dose V-fib. Okay. And this is where I just have to put on my glasses for a moment. So dose V-fib trial. This was led by Dr. Sheldon Cheskes out of the University of Ontario. 6 paramedic services were included, 405 patients. Simple, right? 405 patients. Here's where it's incredible. Here's the exciting part. So this trial, with subsequent revisits, showed a more than double neuro intact survival rate,
which is huge.
Double, 2.1 in fact, to be exact. So a double between the standard defibrillation group, okay, which is just 1 monitor, and the double sequential external defibrillation group, 2 monitors. 2. I say that again because it warrants the emphasis.
It's huge. I mean, to make any strides in the data for resuscitation, it seems huge. And to double the neurological outcome of patients, like we've been looking for things like that. This is what we want. This is why it's a little bit infuriating that it's not
right.
Encouraged, and it's
not even conditionally encouraged. It's
right by the guidelines because
the guidelines
stop.
And I'll just give you the number. When I say twice as much, I'll give you the number just so you can understand. So survival to hospital discharge, the DSED group, 30.4%, 30.4. Yep. The standard defibrillation group, 13.3. I'd like to be in the 30.4 category myself.
100%.
So DSED me all day long. So that's the dose V-fib trial in a nutshell. You want to talk about the ROSC aspect, which precedes survival in the hospital discharge. So this comes before discharge.
Yes. And I also think that you should get a t-shirt that says DSED me all day long.
Done.
Throwing that out there.
Done. I'm writing it down.
But secondarily, the cool part about this, the intention was that they really wanted to look at that survival to discharge, and then secondarily they found out about the neurological outcome, and they also found a couple of other statistics which are pretty also amazing that really drive the bar, and they found that ROSC increased to 46.4% with DSED versus standard defibrillation of 26.5%.
I can't believe 46%. I can't believe that number. I mean, wow.
Know.
Wow.
So why aren't we encouraging that? And termination of V-fib during the event, they found to be about 84% with DSED versus 67.6% with standard defib. And honestly, that's a great number for standard defib. Like 67.6%. It's
no.
It's better than
no shame in that.
PA, whatever. But 84%? Please sign. All of the stats are saying sign me up, and I'm DSED me all day long too.
I'll get 2 t-shirts. Could I just add one thing I didn't mention? So this is important because it distinguishes itself from the two other things I'm going to mention regarding a trial. This trial, and we did mention this on the previous episode, but let's say it again. They are applying 3 standard shocks prior to administering DSED. So in other words, they're having 2 pads on, one defibrillator, and they are shocking people 3 times that are in refractory V-fib. The 4th time, they light them up with 2. So that's important to remember. They're not doing this right away. This is after 3 shocks that failed, and they've that's important.
Refractory V-fib.
Importance in terms of sequence, because that does mean this is not the longest code ever, but when you're doing 3 shocks every 2 minutes, and then the 4th one after another 2 minutes, you're at least 8 minutes in.
Right.
So,
but it's important because otherwise, I mean, traditionally, that I'm using in quotes, we would just keep sitting there and hitting them with, if you use, if your defib goes to 360, you're sitting there hitting them with the same amount of electricity,
right?
Anticipating a different response with no real other changes other than, just kind of like, well, now we're going into the H's and T's and giving them different meds that we're kind of, depending on the situation, kind of grasping at straws.
Totally.
Once
Totally.
you start getting into that, what do we do next? Anyone have any suggestions?
Right. Right. And
we're doing the traditional epi, and we're doing all those things and the antiarrhythmics that, follow the guidelines, but then you're kind of like, okay, what next? None of that has worked, and you're still hitting the same electricity. And we know that the only thing that's going to get people out of these chaotic rhythms is electricity. Like, that's it.
Exactly.
So it really is a case of more is better.
And we've all been there where we are way more than 3 defibrillations, 4, 5, 6. And it's like, to me, seeing VFib, I find it promising. I'm like, ooh, I could maybe fix that. I could bring them back because I'm paying attention. I'm using the defibrillator. I'm shocking them as high as the dial will go. So yeah, you're right. But then I get disappointed because then they asystole and it's over after like trying so many times.
I will tell you, though, I guess I'm kind of a sicko, but when I'm carrying a code pager and it goes off, I'm running to that code thinking like, VFib, VTAP, VFib, VTAP, VFib.
That's not no, because that means there's a chance.
Into like a PEA system where
you're like terrible prognosis.
Right.
No, I get excited too. I'm like, we could change this. There's a chance.
Yeah, you just feel like energized, like, yes, we can do this.
Right. And that's why, again, this DSED is so exciting because it's offering us just another option where there hasn't been another option. I never had that option pre-hospital.
In our toolkit. And our toolkit is pretty, it's got stuff in it. And if you want to look at the, like code cards in hospital or trucks pre-hospital, like, they got a lot of stuff in there, but it hasn't changed, and that's the innovation is what we need, what we want. It's what nerds like us thrive on. And this research shows such a large, impact. We have the opportunity to make a difference, and people are doing it. So not just this study, right? Because there are other folks that have not yet published, but because of this study, they were so inspired, just like us, that they're amped and they're doing it, and they're just doing the work. They just implemented it, because not everyone is, connected to some large academic medical center where they have people that are going to like beep, boop, pop and like pull all the data and write it up. And, eventually they probably will, but right now they're just doing the good work to save lives. And that's, that's where I find this change in the guidelines and the verbiage that they use so disheartening, because I don't want people who are doing the right thing, who are saving lives and who are like using, like getting the same, if not, or similar, if not the same data to this, study. They're getting that data too. They're actually out there saving lives. They're doing it clinically. It's not just on paper. It's not just like a theory. They're doing it. And now they're being essentially, they're being told, nah, there's nothing that shows that's beneficial. But
they're being told. I mean, it is a guideline, but no one's going to tell me to change up. If I'm doing DSED and say I'm achieving these numbers in the back of an ambulance, no, I'm doing it. Because if those numbers are, accurate and it does apply to a patient twice, like I'm doing them a disservice almost if I don't do it.
Right.
I mean, seriously. So that's why, again, DSED me all day. So do you want me to just mention the 2 other trials, or not even trials, but just 2 other?
Yeah, jump into it. Do it.
So there's I got to do this again. So there's an ongoing trial. Okay. So all the data is not out, but this is out of Sweden, and it's called the Double D trial, or it's called the Doubled trial. I don't know how they say it. I'll have to figure that, but maybe it's in another language. So anyway, I'm going doubled trial. So just get this. There's only 40 patients, right? So now DSED is being deployed after the first failed shock on these patients that are in a shockable rhythm. That differentiates it from dose VFib. Dose VFib, as you all remember, after the 3rd failed shock. This trial, after the 1st. We're getting a little more aggressive here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I like it too, because the less time they're in a shockable rhythm and pulseless, the better their opportunity for, perfusion, saving, salvageable organs, not causing any, undue stress. So after the 1st, so here's some pilot data really quick. It shows a feasibility with survival benefit 9% with standard shock. DSED 40%.
Wow.
That's what I wrote in my notes. Wow. Because again, it's not done, but holy,
That's really promising data.
I mean, 40% versus 9 so far. So I look forward to hearing more. And again, it's ongoing, so I don't want
and
to.
it's only 40 patients, so it's small.
It's very small. So
Right,
take it how you will. But and I'm not trying to
very
manipulate. I'm not trying to manipulate the data, but it's just I want to. But
no, but that's important. That's that's promising, and I love that because that just
let's get on it. They're on it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that didn't work. This will work, or they'll try it.
That's
so
great.
It's the same sort of trial, but a little more aggressive. So we'll be paying attention to that closely. Lastly, hot off the presses. So Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. All right, this is the first. They're doing a first shock DSED protocol. They did a first shock DSED on a patient. It's the first ever reported case of DSED on shock 1.
Wow.
They did it 6 times.
Holy moly.
They got ROSC. So the 3 we just discussed, and this isn't a study, this is just the first reported case that was published in JACC. And first shock, they went all out.
I like it. It's aggressive. I like it. And imagine if they had gotten ROSC with that first shot.
Right. So it's just showing you that, people are, it's here we go. Like in a month, in 6 months, we're going to obviously come back to this because there's going to be a lot more data, and it'll be interesting to see. Maybe it'll be more patients. Maybe the numbers won't be, as, striking as this. Who knows? I don't know, but I'm going to be paying attention.
I agree. And actually, as I said, I like it. Ooh, if they got it on the first shock, but I'm actually glad they didn't because it showed that extra energy that they gave that patient, it didn't work right away, but then it did. And then they eventually,
and it was 360 joules times 2. I'm pretty sure from what I could tell from the code sheet.
Hitting them with the house, as we'd like to say.
Yeah. Like, all right, boom, boom. We're not messing around. We're going to get this person out. And it's awesome. They got ROSC. I don't know the outcome after, but I just saw this last night. So I'm like, oh, how timely, Yeah.
And, I think that you brought up a good point when we were chatting offline, not to put you on the spot, but that show, what was it, Night Watch? They were doing DSED.
Yeah, New Orleans EMS.
Yeah.
And I saw that. Came out in 2015, that show. And I remember like, what the hell are they doing?
Right. We thought they were just like going right. I forgot about that until you told me about it. And then I like watched it again. And I was like, you know what? You're spot on. Like,
I couldn't believe it. And
it's not new that people are doing
No.
New that that there have been formalized trials on it, and now they're showing the data, which I think just reinforces the practice that has been being done. And I don't want people to stop practicing. I don't want people to stop doing it.
No, you always talk about innovation, innovation and application. So here we are. I mean, I would have loved to have had 2 monitors. I would have been fired though if I did that. It just wasn't allowed at the time. Would have been worth it if it saved 1 life.
Well, and that's the thing is like we get so amped when we see even like a 1%, a 2% change, like anything that drives
anything
that increases the opportunity to save a life from sudden cardiac arrest is what drives us, and everyone like-minded like us. And that's why as clinicians we do what we can to do that, to save these populations of people that are unnecessarily dying or having walking away with comorbidities, like a poor neurological outcome after a sudden cardiac arrest. And it's like heartbreaking, and
if we're not giving that to them, like that's kind of a disservice, like in my mind, because you have 350,000 out of hospital cardiac arrests a year in America. Of probably a quarter of them are in a shockable rhythm. Like let's put a number to that versus a percentage. We're talking say 80,000 people, and if there's a double chance of them coming back, if these numbers pan out to be accurate, come on, that's a lot of people that'll be walking around now instead of 6 feet under. I mean, to be blunt, it's true.
Right. And
So
I think that the AHA should have said, if you're doing it and seeing it, keep on keeping on.
keep on doing it.
And
Keep
let
on
us
keeping
know.
on. That's what they should have said. They need to have more accessible language
They do.
for the
They-
layperson.
Well, because I feel like they're so prescriptive in
Oh,
their language. But they're
totally.
like, but it's just a guideline. But we're
It's
telling you not to do that.
very
You know?
prescriptive that nails it. Yeah. So we gave you a lot of, we backed it up a bit. We backed up our talk last week. I think we
Yep.
did, but maybe we didn't. You tell me.
Yeah, so noodle on it and let us know what you think. If you've used it, if you've experienced DSED,
Very
if you
curious.
haven't, if you're opposed to it, if you say no, it's a horrible
Yeah.
idea. Let us know. We want to know. We want to talk about this, and well,
Yeah.
we want to talk about everything because you know why?
It's a collaboration. It's not just us two. Mhm.
There are 1 million ways to die. We just wanna talk